How are you, Salome?
I'm good.
I last saw you 20 years ago.
Yeah.
20 years. Oh my gosh. What? Listen, you know, the memories that I have of you in high school, you were thin, tall, reserved, quiet, you know.
I still am. Not so thin, but
to be expected. But you know what? In hindsight, now that I think of it, I think you were just that one student who knew exactly why you were in school in the first place. You were so focused.
I wasn't confused.
Like the rest of us, there was a touch and go. You know?
A lot of people are just like, how did we get to this? Because I wasn't the the award for most promising future or anything like that.
I actually wanted to ask you that, to say, did you ever make it on those top 10, top 20 lists that they had?
I made it once. I was like number 14 once.
Okay.
Like literally, but like my story is more of, I think, resilience, like I was never top student, but I've always been the, keep going versus the high achiever. So it's right, yeah.
Great. It reminds me of Angela Duckworth. Have you read her book, Grit? Oh, you have to read it. Yeah. No, it's massive. It's massive. So if you can identify with grit and resilience, then that's the book for you. So listen, let me just give people a rundown of who you are, because honestly, you were focused then, but I think you've gone on to do some amazing things. And I think it needs to be shared. It needs to be told. So guys, Salome Maswime completed a Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery at the UKZN. She then specialized in obstetrics and gynecology at, where did you specialize, by the way?
At Wits,
yeah. Okay. And then you went on to do your master's and PhD. And then you pursued a postdoctorate at Harvard University. That time you were all of 27 years old. You're just 26, 27. Wow. And now you are, I believe you are an associate professor and head of global surgery at UCT, and also the president of the South African Clinician Scientist Society. Yo, Salome, I've got so many questions for you. So many questions.
Go for it.
Oh, man. So listen, you and I are from Limpopo. Okay, we spent the most part of our lives in Limpopo. Wamba Chivenda.
No maranga venda.
Oh, no maranga venda. Okay, so you are from where, Butlokwa?
Butlokwa, yeah. So
okay. Omupedi. Okay, all right. Okay, interesting. I'm actually, my dad is Pedi and my mom is Benda. So I've got that Pedi Benda going on. Okay. Yeah, okay. So listen, when I looked at everything that you have achieved so far, I am one of those believers that environment trumps willpower. Tell me about the setup at home. What was that like? Were both your parents academics? Did you have siblings who were part and parcel of pushing your agenda, your academic agenda? What was that setup like at home?
Yeah, so I was literally, I'm the last born at home, and I was born in 1982 when my father had just received or finished his master's in not his master's, I think bachelor's with UNISA, and had just received a scholarship to go overseas, to go to Chicago to do his master's and then PhD later. So I was literally born into, 11 months old, flying to Chicago, parents studying and pursuing their postgrad. So I feel like that's all I ever knew, So when he came back, or when they came back, then he got a post at the University of Venda as a lecturer, became a professor, and eventually at his peak, he was acting vice chancellor for, I think, close to 2 years or so. But that was kind of me, primary school, vice chancellor's daughter, what.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like academia was like my biggest inspiration from my parents, and the church, of course. So my father, professor of theology, eventually became a bishop of the Lutheran Church. So home was church and university. That's like what we saw, that's what we knew. So even when I started medicine, it was like, yes, you're gonna be a doctor, but it quickly came, okay, but when is your master's? When is your PhD? That was, that's what we do. We do PhDs.
Wow. It's so interesting that you say that, because when I was looking at this, I was thinking, you've got high levels of self-efficacy. And that is that uncompromised belief in your capabilities. And when I said environment trumps willpower, and you've just indicated now that your parents put that additional pressure to say, when is this coming? When is that coming? So would you say that you are a product of parents who were heavily involved in your academic life, who had a genuine interest in you thriving beyond the ordinary?
Yes, definitely. I'm my father's little girl, and so he didn't compromise on me. He was just like, you're going to be successful. But he also did it very gently. So, like high school, I was a very sort of ordinary student. But somehow my parents would tell me that I'm very clever, and, they would appreciate everything that I bring home. And so constantly told that you're getting that positive affirmation from your family, that pushed me and kept me going, because it meant I can dream big. There's always people that believe in me. And so even when later in life, now specializing and whatnot, and suddenly failing for the first time, my parents were the people that would like say to me that no, it's not your fault. It's the system. You keep going. We know how intelligent you are. So they've played a huge role on creating an environment for me to thrive, supporting me. I mean, when I had my first international conference, my son was 2 months old, and I had to travel. And my parents were like, we'll look after him. We'll look after you. Just do what you have to do. So it's that. But at the same side, I married a husband who is also equally as, if not more, has pushed me a lot. And so I had these dreams, like I want to, become an actress, become famous and all of that. But married a husband who kept saying to me, like, you're a clever girl, do this, pursue this and whatnot. I found myself trapped between my father and my husband, both saying, keep going. But apart from pushing me, they provide all the support I need. So which has been amazing.
That is absolutely, absolutely incredible, because you touch on, your husband having played a role in pushing your agenda forward. Normally, it's our parents, it's our maybe best friends, but very seldom do I hear women saying, my husband pushed me to pursue my highest level, of performance. That is very, very interesting to me, because please keep that in mind. I've got a question that I want to double click on that relates to your husband and your dad as well. Now, this exercise, what must have been very expensive, Salome, was it bursaries? How were you financed throughout your academic pursuits?
Yeah, so I mean, the medicine I think my parents paid for most of that, and with some university subsidized some of that for my father. I also got a bursary from Limpopo province in my final year. And then the specializing, you basically work and you get a salary while doing it. So that was fine. But when I did the PhD, I got a fellowship or scholarship, if you may call it that, from the Carnegie Corporation of New York. And they basically pay you a stipend for 2 years for you to pursue your studies. So, and then down the line, when I did my postdoctoral, it was funded by the Discovery Foundation. And so they gave me an award of 2.1 million. That's covering everything, but that was so that I could go overseas and do my postdoc and have enough money to live, whilst also covered the travel and all of the academic expenses as well. Yeah.
How did you come across these different funds, these different opportunity finances that were made available to you?
So the funny thing is, it will always be somebody who knows about it, who stops you to say, how about you apply for this? So with the first one, it was my master's supervisor. She was like, there's funding to do a PhD. Do you want to apply? I think you write well. Don't you want to do this? And you take a chance, you apply.
Yeah.
The one with Discovery, I was visiting, my best friend was having a church announcement. She was getting married, and standing outside with her sister is like, don't you want to apply for this? Like literally, it's not things where I planned or did hard research. Someone recognizes your potential and suggests you apply for this, and you take a chance, and when you're lucky, you get the opportunity.
Wow. It's important to always just step out and be seen. And express yourself at every corner, every opportunity that you get to express your passions, to express your interests, communicate and voice them out loud, because you don't know who is listening and who might factor you in when an opportunity does present itself. I think that's what you are saying. Listen, medicine is so wide. Why obstetrics and gynecology? Why is there a particular incident that happened maybe that you wanted to change in society? Did you come across certain things that you wanted to just be part of in terms of the change that you wanted to see?
So it was two things. So the one, I was doing com service, I was, got to work one day, I was told you're going to the labor ward, went there kicking and screaming. But a few months later, I loved it. I loved the, working in the labor ward, delivering babies, making difficult decisions. There's the whole adrenaline rush. The woman is in labor. From our side, anything can go wrong, much as for the women, it's like everyone's praying nothing goes wrong. But, as doctors, we are there and ready for things to go wrong, and to help the women and to prevent adverse events from happening. So there is a bit of an adrenaline rush, because you almost need to make the right decision at the right time, and the baby comes out, crying, and the mom is excited, and you're part of this whole, unifying or bringing together this happy family. So I love that. But at the same time, I also encountered very bad, experiences where women actually die and have complications, and mothers lose their babies as well. And so when this happened, I wasn't ready for that, because I was still on the adrenaline rush, excitement. Yes. But then realized that I play a part in the outcome of these women. And so am I skilled enough? Am I trained enough to prevent the sickest women from dying? And so part of specializing was really because I felt I needed to train and get equipped to look after pregnant women, So it was that, when you shift from excitement reality to excitement to the reality that, a lot can go wrong. And if I'm not comfortable, or if I'm not equipped with the skills that I need, I'm part of the program as well. And so that's how I moved into obstetrics and gynae.
It's very interesting that you say that. I mean, I've got 2 children, and with my first, I actually had complications. And you are so right in saying that there's so much that can go wrong. You know, I had preeclampsia. I had never heard of it before. The first time I actually read about it was when I had it, you know, so, you know, it's such a thin line, because at the same time, you don't want to take away from the joy of people experiencing pregnancy, and you don't want to talk about everything that could go wrong. But how do we create that awareness in a healthy way without turning people off the idea of falling pregnant?
So you can only imagine how scary it is for us as gynecologists to fall pregnant, because now we know everything that can go wrong. I think, you know, we have to have a kind of sobering attitude towards pregnancy, because more women actually experience, you know, have bad experiences than the ones who have perfect experiences. Pregnancy is for a few, it's an exciting time and things go well. But for a lot of women, it's a time of anxiety. You know, many women didn't expect to be pregnant. They're nervous about all sorts of things. The whole experience, you know, you go for a test and then you're told you might have a child that has Down syndrome. How do you live through that 9-month period, navigating, you know, all of that? And then there are women who have miscarriages, women who have stillbirths. And often these things are kind of swept under the carpet and not discussed. And we assume women are coping with their situations. And I think we have to have more honest conversations about pregnancy, about the fears and the anxieties that people have, and create a safe space where women can learn and be educated, but also to where they can also express what they are worried about or afraid of, you know. So I like to have a more open approach to women and pregnancy and how they deal with it.
Wow, no, it's very, very true. But look, I got through it. The girl is healthy, she is big, loud,
yes,
very loud. Listen, today you are married. You mentioned you're married, you've got children. How many kids do you have?
2. So I've got 2 boys, one is 6, one is 9.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, in my mind, when I discovered that you've got children, I was like, what time did Salome have children? Speaking. At what point?
As expected, it wasn't planned.
It wasn't planned, okay. But I mean, at what point in your academic journey, you know, your academic pursuits, did the kids come in? Because you mentioned you were doing your master's and the baby was 2 months old. When did that happen? And what were you feeling at the time? Was it strenuous, or was it just a blissful experience for you?
No, so I got married when I was 23. So I, you know, straight out of varsity, first year out, first year working. You know, and so we both decided we're gonna wait a few years before we have children. Let's plan our careers and sort out where we want to go. So I was 29, I think, when I fell pregnant with my first one. I mean, I was old enough by all standards, but I was in the middle of specializing. Okay. So the first thing when I told, you know, the head of department where I was working that I'm pregnant, she asked me, so what were you thinking? You know, so,
wow.
You know, so it was at a time where, you know, if within the academic sector or the space that I was in, you know, you were not expected to fall pregnant because others who hadn't coped well and whatnot, you know. But then you're pregnant and that's it, you know, like you have to make it work, not just for yourself, but for others who will come after you, because so that no one asks them that question. So there was that added pressure to say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this well, so that no one ever gets asked that question, at least in my setting. The second one, I was in the middle of my PhD. And so, like I said, I was getting a stipend. I was funded to do this for 2 years. And so you fall pregnant, there's no maternity leave in the scholarship. Now it has to be discussed with the guys in New York who are funding me that we've got this situation.
It's a situation. They're calling
it a situation. And it had to be discussed with supervisor, mentors, whatnot. How are we going to manage this situation? And we managed it. We came up with plans and whatnot. So obviously there is no maternity leave. How are you going to order your life so that you're still able to take time off and still, fulfill your obligations and whatnot? So these are real experiences that we go through as women, trying to make the most of our lives. But the lessons are also that you continue. It's I had to raise my kids as you are part of my package. Like right now we're packing up. We're going to the US to do a postdoc together. It wasn't like I'm going to do my postdoc, and it was like, we are doing this as a family, and you'll find, what to do with your life, but this is us, this is our reality, and I have to work, study, and everything at the same time, and we will make it work as a family. And yeah.
It's interesting that you say that the kids were part of your journey the entire time. And to such an extent that you went with them abroad. When I think I was about 3 years old, 2-3 years old, my mother took me to my grandmother's house in Venda, and I stayed with her for about 4 years of my life while my parents were furthering their studies. And I could understand how they reached that decision. But it's interesting that you indicate that the kids were part of your journey the entire time. Was your parents getting involved not an option for you?
Yeah, it wasn't, like I felt my as a mom, for me, I felt like, my biggest thing or achievement, or the thing that brings pride to me the most, is my children, and so I didn't want to separate that from what I'm doing, So I'd find, yes, you get accolades and you get all of these nice things, but just looking at my happy children, peaceful, brought more joy to me than all the other things that I was doing. And so it was never an option for me to say, let's separate the kids or have them elsewhere whilst I focus on myself. It was like, all four of us, my husband included, like, let's do this life thing together and navigate it and make it work. I mean, it wasn't easy. It isn't easy to do that, but at the same time, it's creating an abnormal normal, in the sense that we know we're all in this together. So my husband has taken, there are times where he has left his job so that I could take a better, a better job. We've sacrificed for each other, where it's like, family decision, we're supporting you right now, you do this, and we'll reinvent, we'll find new things to do with life. So it's been very interesting that, for us as a family, that it was never put the family aside for now and focus on this. We had to do everything at the same time together and make it work.
Wow, and you've made it work. It sounds like you've made it work.
Yeah, we're trying to, we keep trying.
Yeah, Salome, in hindsight, look, you were able to succeed in all that you planned to do. You made room for your children, you made room for family in the midst of all of that. What I'm saying is, in hindsight, given the opportunity to do it again, would you have made slightly different decisions, as in purposefully delay when the kids came into the picture? Or would you have done it exactly the way you have done it, because it possibly has stretched you in unimaginable ways?
I wouldn't change the way I've done it. I really feel, purpose, plan, alignment. I mean, my kids got an excellent foundation going to schools in the US, even though it was for a short time. But I've just seen how it has expanded and changed the way they look at life and the way they look at things. So it has opened up doors for them as well to be part of my journey. If I had to do it again, I probably would still make the same decisions, but be a bit wiser in planning for the long term. Yeah.
Sure, I love that. There's a lot of young women like myself who are grappling with, and I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I've got 2 children, like I said, and believe it or not, there's still pressure about when is the 3rd child coming? When is baby number 3 coming? And I'm thinking, whoa, wait, my 2nd one is only 2 years old. Let me just, get her into school. Let me do all of these things. But there's also plans that I have for myself. I want to also study further. I want to do certain things with my life. But again, I'm asking myself, what time, Lerato? Because children just take up so much of your time, so that's why I was asking, having had kids so early, do you feel like it delayed a few things or put unnecessary pressure on you? But what I love about what you're saying, Salome, is that everything is distant, and there's a purpose for timing as well, and like you so rightly put it, your kids were able to be exposed to a different type of world that they probably wouldn't ordinarily have been had you just followed the typical way of doing life, So I'm encouraged by that. And I hope that anyone else who is watching this, who's feeling a bit stuck in where they are and about the decisions that they have made or not have made, it's okay. You are where you are supposed to be.
Yes,
you are where you are supposed to be.
And I think one thing that also helped me, or a lesson I had to learn as a mother, is to live my own life, and that was a hard lesson to learn. But I remember, especially when we moved to Cape Town, and I'm worried about, at that time, the 4-year-old, the 7-year-old. Is he coping in school? Is he doing, you want to do his homework, you want to, and the child was just trying to adjust to, now I'm in a different country, now I need to learn different things from what I was learning. The younger one also just going through his own adjustment, and my husband as well going through his own adjustment. I've left my job where I was a very senior executive. I'm in this place navigating my life, and you almost want to live everybody's life as a mom, and you're trying to let me pass the exams for this one, and let me do this. And one day I really had to say to myself, I'm really accountable for me, still in a selfless way. Like, my kids have me, whatever support they need, they've got me. But I had to draw that distinction between living for them and doing what I'm supposed to do every day. And I then found everyone is now independent, and everyone, we support each other, we do everything together, but no one is carrying the burden that I have to live your life for you, And when I did that, the same 7-year-old who I felt like he's not gonna cope if I don't do everything for him, he passed his tests, he got through the year. He knew that he has to fight his own battles, small as they were, but he knew that he has to navigate and juggle, and that I'm his support system, but I'm not the one living his life for him. And so that has helped me a lot to navigate my own journey, because I'm not carrying very heavy burdens trying to make everything work for everyone. And one of the things I had to say was, like, if my child fails, they fail, but I'll be there to help them and to pick them up and whatnot, but not that I need to study at night to help them and, get through the next day. And so I think we take on a lot as mothers, and sometimes we need to let go and let, be a system of support, be a well they can come through, but don't live life for them,
Yo, Salome, that's powerful. That is how I haven't heard anyone say that. And any mother, let me put it that way, any mother say that, because we have such massive mommy guilt. We have massive mommy guilt, and it wears us down. We are constantly making decisions. Number one, in our careers, in our academic pursuits, and then in the home front, and then with our friends. We are counselors, we are, community workers out there. We do a lot. And what you're saying is that, doing you is probably the most important part of all of this, and allowing everybody else to also do them as well, as individuals. That's how you come to realize your fullest potential, is if you are doing it and you are invested in your own pursuits. I love that.
And the biggest example you can give to your kids is being an example. My father never said to me, follow in my footsteps. I just admired him. I was like, I want to be like you one day. And I do that for my kids. And so that they can say, Mommy, I want to be like you. I don't need to preach to them, about how to do life. Live by example, and your family will follow, and other people as well.
Earlier on, we spoke about your decision to move into academics. And I mean, I know quite a few people who are specialists now, and they're very comfortable, living a comfortable, that soft life, big house, big car. And they are fulfilled because they're getting to see patients on a daily basis. In the absence of that patient setup, now yours sounds more like you are in the office environment, you are in boardrooms, you're making decisions, you're influencing the direction that needs to be taken. What are you braving in those environments currently?
Yeah, so let's start with the why. The why I went into it. Like I said, when I was specialized, I thought just by becoming a specialist, I could solve the world's problems, and then when I did my PhD, now I was looking at how many women are dying from cesarean section complications across Gauteng or across Johannesburg. And what I realized is women are continuing to die. The fact that I'm a specialist hasn't solved the health system. I'm a resource for the women that I look after, but the system itself has got a lot of leaking pipes everywhere. And so my decision was, how do you look at the entire system and see where you can patch those leaking pipes, And it's not always by being the one in the room at the time, but maybe the contribution I can make is be the one who makes recommendations on how to fix those leaking pipes everywhere. So that's why I moved into it. So yes, it takes me away from my everyday passion that I still love, but at the same time, it allows me to look at populations and look at how can we improve maternal care or surgical care for populations, and not just for the one person at a time that is in front of me. So that's how, that's what I am braving. Yes. Because I still don't know whether, will what I do change the world or change or influence change. But what I know is that there is a system that is very flawed. And some of us need to look at the system and see how we can strengthen the system so that people that are looking after their patients are not having patients dying because, yes, I was there, but I didn't have blood to transfuse the patient. We didn't have the medication. We didn't have an ambulance to get them across to another hospital. And it's looking at those things to strengthen the system.
What are some of those challenges that you are currently experiencing as you are trying to patch things along the way?
It's the knowing what to do, so you can identify the problem. So one of the major studies that we did, we found that African women were 50 times more likely to die from cesarean section complications than women in high income countries. Now that you know that, what do? Is it training more gynecologists and ensuring that, surgeons or gynaes are trained to look after the patients? Is it not having blood banks? Is it not having anesthetists? It's the navigating. Now that we know the problem, how do we solve it? And then you find the problem is bigger, it's wider than we think, and health systems are different. So what you do in Limpopo is different from what you do in the Eastern Cape, it's different from what you do in Zimbabwe or Rwanda. And how do we navigate that and find a new way of doing healthcare so that our health system is responsive to the actual needs and problems that it faces?
It's a big job. It's a big job. I love that it's life-changing work. It literally is life-changing work. And that surely must, get you, going every single day. That why is big enough to keep you at it. You've worked hard, Salome. You have produced great results. In the production of those results and in the production of all of that hard work, what did you sacrifice along the way?
Yeah, sure. I don't, that's a difficult question because I love to live in the moment. I'm a no regrets type of person, as you see, which might make you reckless sometimes. but so it's very hard to look back and say, I could have done this differently. I think I've done the things that I wanted to do. There's by 35, I want to accomplish this. And at 35, I was like, okay, done, and what's the next 30-year plan? So it's a very difficult question because I've never, I learned from a young age that do the things that matter and think about how you'll feel 30 years down the line if you didn't make this decision. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
and
that.
I mean, I'm not trying to say that it's been perfect. It hasn't. It's been a rough journey, but I'm very happy and content with where I am right now. I'm not looking back and regretting that I should have done this or that. I've done the things that I've dreamt of doing, and each day is exciting.
Here's a scenario. So I'm a young adult, as in 16 years old, and I'm in high school. My maths and my science marks are dismal. My confidence is at an all-time low. My teachers are telling me to give it up because they just doubt my capabilities. But I'm passionate about medicine. I know my why. I want to do it. How would you advise me in light of all that I have painted?
Yeah. So grade 11, Capricorn High School. I was told no medical school is gonna accept you.
So you were that kid. So I'm giving you. So you were that. Oh
wow! I was that kid where the guidance teacher tells you it's not gonna work, and it has worked quite well. So passion, resilience, I think drive, determination, and having a supportive environment are sometimes so much better than whether you talented or not. We overemphasize skill and abilities and marks and whatnot. Take a 50% and put them in an environment where everyone is telling them you are excelling. That child is gonna excel. So just because you've been getting your 50s, failing this, some kids fail just because the environment is not conducive for them, and move them, put them in an environment where their skills are taken out and where they can see what they are good at. The same child who looked dismal suddenly is so instilling confidence in and creating a positive environment, I think is far more important than looking at, what you got in your maths. I've worked with people that I have excellent CVs, like excellent, they've got all of this on paper, but they can't get things done. So getting that A consistently and whatnot doesn't determine what you're going to become in life, because often if you trace back, it was you in a conducive environment at that time. Take you out of that environment and you might not thrive. So as with young people or people that I mentor and try to develop, I always look at what is your environment, who's encouraging you, who's saying what are you good at, what do you enjoy, and focus on the softer skills in life.
Beautiful, just beautiful. I think it was Oliver Holmes who said, a mind stretched by a new experience can never go back to its original form. Your mind has been stretched in unimaginable ways. What is next for you?
Sure. So I don't know.
Love the answer. No, it's honest.
Yeah. I mean, I really love doing what I do. I've got my dreams of running an institute or creating an institute.
You know what? This for me has been the kind of interview where I honestly feel like I have to say thank you. Thank you for what you do in the world. Thank you for the sacrifices that you have made. Thank you for just knowing your why and being that example so others can follow. Your job may not necessarily to go out there and individually change people's lives, but your job may just be to live out the best life that you can possibly live, one of great impact, and you are doing that. And I've got a feeling that whoever is watching this is going to be so enthused and so excited to live their own life and honor their own why in life. So thank you so much. I feel like I'm about to say thank you for your service.
Thank you. And so humbled. It's
such a pleasure, Salome. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for braving it with me this morning. Thank you for the time. And go out there and live this why. I love it. I've loved this interview. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.